So hopefully you all can see my screen. Let me know if you can't. So this is a little infographic that to start us off this morning that Anna put together. Comprehensive program review, right? And this is just an overview of the different parts and how it connects with guided pathways and the work that's being done there, right? So a quest, the students, to support students in their quest for the treasure of education, right? So we have the different sections here, and we're going to go through, we've blocked out time to discuss each section, but although we are not going to be able to get into all of the sections in great depth, what we're hoping to do is to answer questions. Hopefully you've had time to go through the different sections and you have some idea of what's in the different sections. And then we have experts that'll talk a little bit about the particular section as it relates to guided pathways and maybe some things that you should be discussing and thinking about as you're answering the questions. So are there any questions before we move on?
I also want to add that, again, this lens, this approach is from the student's perspective. I know we've talked about this a lot, but for me personally to actually grasp it conceptually did take some time and reflection. But this is what we mean by student center, flipping it from looking at my department inwardly to what is the student's journey. So this is all about the student's journey and what can we do to reduce barriers in them reaching their educational goals. So equity is a huge part of this and of this new approach. And Kelly, I don't know if are you going to talk about the power program review? I think you've prepared some stuff. I thought maybe that was a segue into it. So go ahead.
Right.
But what I wanted to add is that we realize that there are some questions that you might say, well, I don't know the answer to that. You know, I see there's disparity, but I really don't know how to fix it. I don't know the context. That's okay. If inquiry is the next step for your department, that's appropriate. We're all new with this approach. We're all, as Georgie Monahan used to say, novice babies. And so it's okay. Don't worry that you're not that we as a college are not completely at that mature level of doing program review. All right, so I wanted to maybe say that to help reduce a little bit of the stress so that you can maybe just go in and look at the data. And I want to say enjoy this because this is about our students.
So I found this infographic and I thought it was helpful for me to sort of understand what we're trying to accomplish in terms of equity. Equity over the past couple of years has kind of been tossed around, I think, as a term that's kind of nebulous and it means different things to different people. And so I just wanted to throw out my definition and the way I conceptualize what equity looks like in education. So, you know, equality is the assumption that everyone benefits from the same support, right? And we all know as educators, that's laughable because we all know our students need different things at different times. And equity is looking that everyone gets the support they need, you know, producing equity in the classroom and equity in education. So the reality is that oftentimes the people that don't need necessarily as much support get the most support, and those that need more support get less, right? And that creates a huge disparity. We can see it in our data on the campus. It's very clear, it's obvious. And so as educators and as an open enrollment campus, right, we bring students onto our campus, we encourage them to enroll. And do we have the supports in place that they need, knowing that they will come to our campus underprepared, right? And so as educators and as an institution, you know, what are we doing to make sure that underprepared students that we are enrolling, you know, we're allowing them to sit in our classrooms, what are we providing for them? And this is not pointing fingers, placing blame. It's just looking at a reality, and through program review, letting our campus know this is what we need to make sure that there is equitable outcomes for all of our students that sit in our classroom. So, ideally, in the perfect world, there'd be educational justice where you remove the barriers, right? And all the inequities are addressed and the students succeed equally. We know that's not happening, and that's something that we want to work towards. Jessica, I saw you came in. I don't know if you want to add anything else here.
Um, I think you did a great job. I'm sorry that I'm late. I just want people to know that we're looking at a broader framework in terms of equity being how we do our work, and not equity being kind of a concept that's over there. Say, we're Maricela works, we're equity plan that we have to kind of transactional do every year. And this whole program review and everything we do is about students, which means everything we do is about equity. And so it's more about how we do our work rather than this thing we call equity. And I think you covered that well. So
Okay, thank you. So why do we know the compliance piece, and that is what it is, but why should we, right? And hopefully we're broadening through this new version of program review. We're broadening the way we look at our programs. I mean, it's not just our program. Our students come to us with needs, right, in our classroom, and so we have to look at their holistic experience on our campus in order to achieve the social justice and education that is so sorely needed. So we need to integrate our support services with our programs and think about our students and how they come to us and they want an education, but there are barriers to that sometimes, and how are we addressing that? And just also to mention about how powerful program review is. This is our opportunity as faculty. We control this process, and this is how we are able to speak to the administration and our campus and let them know what we need. And we might not have the answers, and that's okay. But what comes out of this inquiry and this investigation into what our students, how what their outcomes are, helps us to feed into the more structured parts of our campus, such as planning and resources. And so, stepping back, looking at the holistic student, making sure that we're putting forth in our program review the student's needs, then that feeds into our improvement and our planning processes, which is where then we can request services and professional development. So the data is powerful, and being able to speak to what our students' needs are helps us to achieve meeting those needs.
So Kelly, I'll speak to this one. I don't know everybody here, but I've been here a couple years, like almost 17 years, and I have been a chair since mid 2016. And I was highly, highly critical of program review. Like, I hated it. I'm the chair of sociology, and within sociology, there's ethnic studies, gender studies, and now we have social justice studies, and those are considered areas, but they do have to be reviewed. So I was doing a review for like 3 areas and now 4. And when I tell you I hated it, I thought that program review was a ridiculous exercise to go through that wasted a lot of time because I didn't really feel like it helped the program grow. I didn't feel like it helped me have ideas to improve the program. And that's really no shot at Sherry or IE or program review people. Um, I just, uh, I just didn't feel like I was truly interacting with a tool that was helping me. And I went to Sherry and went to people and talked to them about it. And so I was really happy to be a part of revamping program review. And I do want to say that I really do think that integrating the components from guided pathways that were designed to help us get students on their pathway, help them clarify, help them clarify their path, onboard to their path, intervene when they're falling through the cracks, and complete their path. Those are things that will really help our individual programs, and they will help us look at our programs. The kind of questions that are on there are questions you can say, you know, you can really answer, and you can answer and say, well, no, I don't do that. I don't have the tools to do that. I don't have the resources to do that. No one's ever asked me about, onboarding. I have no relationship with student services. Why would I? I don't have the time. And when you answer like that, then in your planning strategies, you get to say, well, I'd like to do that. I need an assistant to do that. I need resources to do that. I need to work with so and so to do that. And for me, then it starts to come together where we get to really come up with ideas because the right questions were asked. We were able to answer appropriately. And then we were able to put the pieces together and get the resources we need to grow a program, to make a program more comprehensive for students who want to go through our programs, and also get maybe the staff we need. I'm a program where people go through to major, but we're also a GE program, and I don't even get to see students who come through. So I just wanted to share that. Like, I'm excited and I hated it. So I hope people find it helpful.
Great, thank you. All right, so our next on our agenda, we wanted to talk a little bit about technology. This is not, don't expect us to, this is where you click and this is how you do that. We have quick start videos for that. So if you need help with just navigating solutions, we have some videos to help you, and we can do that later. But we're just going to spend a few minutes. I'll turn it over to Diane to talk a little bit about the technology. So take it away, Diane. Thank you.
Sure. So I do have some slides that just talk about how you get on, but I'm going to go through those really quickly because hopefully you have, it sounds like people have been able to get on to Nuventive. So once you come in, you'll be able to find your unit from the drop-down screen note or drop-down box. You'll only have access to whatever units that you have permissions for. So it might look different than this, but you'll find your unit. And then if you click on these three little lines known as the hamburger, you'll see a menu, and one of the options should be comprehensive review. It will likely say instructional. It might say hybrid, or for our, when we get to support, it will say support, but for most of you, it should say comprehensive review instructional. If you have not done any work yet, you'll see a plus sign, and that's when you can start and bring up the different sections for the first time. However, if you have gone in there and done any work, or once you start, you can come back and pick up where you left off. And so you'll see a status bar or a progress bar, and to the right of that are three little dots. And that's when you can edit. And so that brings us to our sections. And depending upon where you left off, it will likely open up to one of the sections. So on this side, you can see it's open to clarify the path, and we're going to go through each of these sections. But if you collapse them all, you'll be able to see each of the sections and the progress that you're making. So what I really wanted to highlight here is kind of a really cool feature that we have with Nuventive is really easy access to the resources that you'll need in the forms of data and reports to answer the questions. So when you click into one of the text boxes for a prompt, you'll also get some help text. These are just additional questions to help you really think about what you are responding to with the prompts. And then on the right-hand side is where the dashboards will pop up. And Anna's going to talk a little bit more about some of those dashboards and reports that you might need to answer questions. Now, again, we don't expect that you're going to have every single answer to every single question, but this will prompt some discussion for you. It'll help you get some insight to some of the questions. So if you, and you can change the view. And so I think Anna calls this little icon, you call it the eraser.
It looks like an eraser to me.
Yeah, a little eraser icon. So you can just see the proportion of green to gray. So the green is what you see on the left-hand side, the prompts, the questions in the sections, and the gray part are where you'll see the data and the reports. And so you can just change those proportions as needed. So right here, I have it half and half. And then you can see once I click on a dashboard, it pops up. Now I can always change it if I would like to have the data take over more of the screen. I can do that just by clicking on one of these icons. And so the resources that you see on the right always are connected to whatever text box you're working in. So for example, this prompt is asking about mission, which we'll be talking about very soon. And so since I've clicked in a text box related to a prompt about the unit's mission, right here, I see my current mission statement and I see the educational master plan. So it's really, really convenient for you in being able to help you answer questions. Again, this prompt right here is about curriculum, and I have my active courses by department, I have suspended courses, and I have my curriculum review checklist. So very, very easy. And then you can always click on a window at the bottom and get full view. I thought I had an example of that, but oh, right here. So if you are in the data view, if you want to open it in a new window, so it takes up the entire window, so you can see all of this great information, you can open it in a new window. And then once you have entered information, you can click save. Once you close things down, you the next time that you log on, you can pick up right where you left off. And as Kelly mentioned, we have a ton of resources and information, videos that you can find by logging onto the OCC portal, going to the institutional effectiveness page and finding the program review links. And this is what the program review data and resources page looks like. So I know that was very fast, and I forgot to introduce myself. So I know I've met most of you in here. I'm relatively new, but I'm Diane Brown. I'm with Public Health, and I am one of the 3 IE faculty coordinators.
Thanks, Diane. Can I just add one more thing? If you are in Solutions, if you can go down to the bottom, let's have them click the start, this, in progress at the bottom. Should we have them do that?
Sure.
Do you have a, yes.
I can, let's see.
Do you have a shot of that? So if you go all the way down, start, like hit the plus if you haven't done anything. And then it would be really helpful if you can go all the way down to the bottom and it talks about the status.
It says submission.
So you want to have your status of review report in progress. So it should be a little drop down there. If you can do that for us now, if you're in there, that would be helpful. That just lets us know when you're done, right? So you're starting it. Eventually, you're going to send it off to your manager/dean for review, and that'll be another status update. And then when you're done, you'll hit the, we're done, because it's hard for us to know in the IE office when you're done.
All right, so I am going to cover quickly dashboards, and I'm not going to go into all the nitty-gritty of all the dashboards. This is more about an overview of the navigation of the dashboards and whatnot. So here I just chose, I hope you can see degrees and certificates. This is the general view of the dashboards, and we do have Alex here, who's one of our researchers, created a lot of these dashboards. But in general, the format is that you'll have navigate a set of filters on the far left, where you can filter by your division, sometimes by class, sometimes race, ethnicity, gender. So there will always be some filters on the far left. This is where you can filter to see only your department, and sometimes you can even drill down by course. Then across the top, there are some buttons to take us to the different pages of the dashboard. So in this case, this degrees and certificates has awards and degrees, denied, and then data notes. I selected the denied degrees and certificates, and so it gives me a new page. And before I forget, I need to say this. The Office of Institutional Effectiveness created a lot of dashboards to display a lot of data. There is not an expectation that you go through every data point and every intersection and analyze that data. The data is here to support your answering these questions. So one approach would be to read the prompt and kind of say, well, what data do I need to answer that question? And hopefully you'll find it in the dashboard, because that was the process we went through. To answer this question, what data do I need? We defined it, gave it to the researchers, they pulled it, cleaned it, and made the dashboard. So I just don't want you to be overwhelmed by this data. All right, so just use the data that supports you answering the questions. But in terms of this degrees and certificates, when I first saw this, the first slide showed the degrees and certificates awarded, and this particular slide is for the college overall. I should also mention that quite often on the dashboard, you'll have data displayed in a matrix on the bottom. If you select the little plus signs, it will open it up so that you can see additional data. Again, a lot of data. Use what you need, but when I'm looking at this, I think, oh, okay, well, that's kind of a lot. But then when I went to the denied, I thought, well, why is a student who applies for graduation denied? Right? Because look, campus-wide, we have a lot of students, over 1,100 students were denied in 2021 when they applied for a certificate or degree. So personally, I'm like, why? And as a faculty member, what can I do to fix that? That's a lot of students. And so for me, I'm like, well, so I want the definitions of why or what would cause that. So in the data notes page, you'll see here, denied awards, and it gives the reasons. And as I look at this, a lot of these reasons are I want to say clerical. They filled out the wrong form, or they have the wrong catalog rights, or for my money, this is stuff that I can help students navigate in my classroom. I will let you know also, many students don't realize they have to petition for graduation. So if you have students in a capstone class, hand out the graduation petition. I mean, it's online now. Show them how to do it. So looking at this and taking that student perspective can lead to these kinds of conversations. So I wanted you to see the navigation. I wanted you to see that there were data notes that give definitions of the data. And I want you to know that if you still have a question about the data, please reach out to Kelly or myself, or you can actually reach out to Alex or Daisy.
I just want to add, the IR office is, of course, at your disposal. We're here to answer all the questions. I just want to emphasize, though, that the data notes should answer the bulk of the questions. And of course, we are here to answer any additional questions. But usually the data notes, they give the specific definition of what it is you might be looking at, whether it's like PRU or like some of the technical terminology that it is that you use to answer your questions for your program review. We're of course here to help serve, but of course I just wanted to note that the data notes are meant to be there to be very helpful as well.
Yeah. So when we say, you know, what data should I look at? Here's another example. Here's a dashboard that looks at success and retention, and what I'm looking at is success and retention by race, ethnicity. And when I just look at this, I see that the gap is not the same for each group. So just seeing that indicates that there's some disparity in outcomes. So in terms of what data do we want you to look at, or, you know, look for the gaps, look for where there's something that's different that stands out. And so in this case with the success retention, you can see that the orange line is retention. So retention is the number of students at census. And then success are the students that pass the class with a passing grade or a C or better. And if you think about it, so the college retention rate's about 86% and the success is about 71 to 72. All right. If I look at it by session type, you can see again, there's gaps. And then furthermore, and this is the last thing I'll cover before I turn it back over to Diane, what I've done now is I've filtered it to show only the Hispanic Latinx students. And by modality, I can see that these students are not succeeding at the same rate as the overall college rate. So maybe I don't know the answer in terms of what to do, but I think just acknowledging that there's disparity is our first baby novice step. And so maybe as you move forward, your inquiry, your planning strategy, you might have some kind of planning strategy that addresses finding ways to mitigate these gaps, working with the college to help find ways to mitigate these gaps. So with that, we will have a breakout room about dashboards at the end, but I'm going to just go ahead and turn it over to Diane now.
All right, I am going to very quickly talk about, to get us started with our first section, which is clarify the path. I'm just going to quickly talk about mission. This, for those of you who've done program review before, this should be familiar. This is something that we brought over that is basically this very similar to the prompts used in TrackDAP. I'll share my screen really quickly, and then I'm going to turn it over, and we're going to spend a little more time talking about curriculum questions. So this is just the questions in a PDF. This is available with those resources that I shared before, but it's the same questions. So we also have a Google form if you'd like to work on the questions ahead of time and then just cut and paste your responses. So with mission, what you're going to be doing is looking at your department's mission statement from the last program review, and it'll be available to you again on the right-hand side. And you will just be responding on how the mission aligns with the college's mission. You'll answer some questions about the kinds of courses that you offer, and does it support students in transfer, in GE courses, in degrees. You'll talk about courses and programs that support students being qualified employees, whether the department offers courses that are foundational, basically aligning with all of everything that's noted in the college's mission statement. And so that's all things that you answer through a drop-down box. You're just kind of checking. And then you'll look at the very first dashboard, which is a student demographic dashboard. and answer questions related to students in your department's courses and their goals. You'll share how your department is connecting to four-year school. So I think I was going to quickly share an example from public health. So these are those drop downs. And so there's a question on how the department is connecting to high schools, four-year institutions. And so as an example, we noted that faculty have formed relationships with Fullerton and UCI. We created a local degree that aligns with Cal State Fullerton. We talked about public health participating in an allied health academy. So those are the types of responses that would fit here. But again, also looking at who our students are with the dashboard. And then there's an opportunity to update the department's mission if that's something that you're interested in doing. And so if it needs to align more with the college's mission, if there's something related to equity that you would like to make prominent in your mission, this is an opportunity for you to update it here. So that's the very first section in program review under Clarify the Path. And unless anyone had something else to add, I'm going to turn it over to Arabian and Charles, who are going to talk about curriculum.
Can I just add one thing about the mission? A mission statement should address who are you serving and what is it that you serve them with, so to speak. So that is why we're giving you the demographic information, because sometimes the students we think we're serving are not actually who we're serving. So that's, so that you can go look to see, and you might go, oh, wait, I thought I was a transfer program, but look, most of my students have a certificate in mind, or they're for general education. So just in terms of why we're giving you student demographic data to support creating a mission, that is why. We need to know who our students are to use that to inform our mission.
As we clarify the path for students, it can be as simple as we need to make sure that they understand that there is a path to achieve their particular goal at OCC, and how we communicate that is going to be pretty important. I can probably give you a few ideas of what you might want to keep in mind as you try to answer the different prompts in this area, but just know that telling students to sending them to a website may not be the end-all result you're really looking for, but you may want to take the time, whether it's in the first couple class sessions, to address some of their options now that they're taking that particular course. One of the things I'm kind of working on this January just is to help students or to help other faculty as a guide. I'm doing my best to put together just some short videos that I can just share with everyone in my department to share with their students that help clarify what are the different options in terms of what we as an institution call guided pathways. We don't have to use that phrase with the students, but really just letting them know some of the sequencing of things that they want to keep in mind as they go forward. And I think that's where I'll stop there on that. If there are any questions afterwards, we can expand a bit. Charles?
So most of you remember when we did the program maps, we asked everybody to map all the course sequences for their degrees and certificates. And that essentially was the sort of like a path. I know it's not quite that simple for a lot of programs. It depends on where the student is going to transfer, or what kind of job exactly the student is training for. And so that's where what Arabian's saying, where you have to instructors have to intervene and help students understand the nuances of the pathway. The maps can only generally give you a general idea, but they can help with informing scheduling and your overall departmental plans. So it's another resource. You have those program maps, and you might want to be thinking about them as you think about program review. Anything else about this? Well, we did also ask for program descriptions from the department chairs, and this work continues where we, a website is not enough, but a website is a nice thing to have, and we are working on getting more information on the websites and making sure everything links to occupational data, right? So that students know kind of what jobs they're training for. I know I'm in a transfer program, right? I teach philosophy and humanities, and it's GE courses, and we don't really think of ourselves as training people for jobs, but we are. Just everybody is. Right? We're always training people for jobs. It's a little bit more. It's a little further down the road, probably for most of our students than it is maybe for Arabian students in accounting, but we still have to think about, all right, what occupations? I mean, one of the things that I did was just say, here's where philosophy majors have ended up. One of them was on the Supreme Court, right? So where do these people end up? Anna has a question.
Charles, I often get faculty when I'm working with program review, they want to know what is the expectation for the curriculum review, because the curriculum review is there under that first area. And so could you, from a curriculum chair perspective, talk about what the expectation is for curriculum review?
Yeah, let me do that. And Anna, maybe you can help me. The Title V requires that we review curriculum every 6 years and vocational curriculum every 2. So I don't remember exactly when it happened that we decided, well, the time to do this is during program review.
It's always been in program review as long as I've done program review. It's always been there.
So we have to do it, and one of the advantages of doing it is then we get to make a note of everything in Curricunet, that all these courses have been reviewed, these programs have been reviewed, just in case anybody ever comes to ask us. So a few things that we want to look for courses. We're going to be, the curriculum committee is going to be sending out another list of courses who have unit hour misalignments. That's where either there are too many units for the number of hours, the total number of hours of student work, or there aren't enough. And the Chancellor's office is getting more and more strict about this. So we're going to be sending this out again. So that curriculum review and program review is a chance for you to get on this and check and see if there are any unit hour alignments that needs to be fixed. And if you have any questions about it, email me, cotwell@occ.cccd. You want to also make sure that your courses are assigned to a discipline. It doesn't seem like this is a big deal, but it really is. We want to forestall any, turf wars or any other kinds of controversies that might come up. So I've been encouraging everybody to make sure your courses are assigned to a discipline. That's done on the cover page in Curricunet. Again, if you have questions, you can always email me. It is also required by Title V that we review our prerequisites every 6 years. So if you have a prerequisite that you haven't looked at it for a while, you might want to ask yourself, do we really still need this prerequisite, right? Or is it presenting a barrier to student success that's no longer necessary? We don't want to just remove prerequisites willy-nilly, but we do want to make sure that they are necessary. And if the form is more than 6 years old, it needs to be updated anyway. So please review those. Also, another thing that most of you have been to curriculum committee, so you know the kinds of questions that we ask. We often ask for an accounting of homework hours. So if you see that some of your course outlines don't have that accounting of assignment hours, put it in there. Also textbooks, right? Especially for transfer courses, the textbook should be within the last 5 years if at all possible. And these are pretty simple updates that you can do. Also consider OER textbooks if possible. For suspended and what's the word? Retired courses, right? If you have suspended, if you're going to suspend or retire a course, we will pull the report out of program review and put those through the curriculum process for you. But you'll need to make sure that the courses are out of your programs as well. If you have a course that's in other people's programs, you might want to think twice about suspending or retiring it. You might want to think instead that maybe you ought to be offering it. But that would be a consultation with the other programs. Also, the last thing I'll say is the curriculum committee is also developing a new program submission sheet so that when new programs come to us, we make sure that we have all of the documents that we need. Arabian knows about for career ed programs, you have to have advisory minutes and occupational data and so on. And all programs need to have a narrative. So you might want to check and make sure that you do have a narrative. And for ADTs, we've been sending around the revised templates. If there's a new template for your ADT, you need to update to it. So we will, we can help you with that as well and send you the information again if you didn't get it. I think that's all I have.
You know, Charles, there's a question in the chat, and this is one I get. It says, is there a list of classes that need to be reviewed or have outstanding issues for a department? We have made many changes to courses because of the online changes back and forth, and it's not really clear what other areas may be outstanding. And so I'll start that there is a list of all your courses and if they've been offered in the last 3 years. So that's about as far as we can dig down into the data. We can tell you if it's been offered or not. And so if it hasn't been offered in the last 3 years, really consider, there's a couple of things. If that class is part of a program, if it's required in a program, you really need to go sit on your dean's desk and get them to schedule it. Because if it's required and we're not offering it, they can't complete, we're out of accreditation compliance, there's big issues. If it's a course that's an elective and you're just not going to be able to offer it because of money or whatever, I might recommend suspending it so that it pulls it out of the catalog. It won't pull it out of the state inventory. But I have some faculty that are saying, I just submitted the course 2 years ago. Do I need to look at it again? So what would you respond to that?
If it's a career ed course, then yes, you have to do it every 2 years. Otherwise, no, you don't have to do it. If we have a review date that's within the last 6 years, we're okay.
So what you probably need to do then, faculty, is go ahead and open up your CORs. If you see that the effective date is, let's just say within the last 3 years, just go to the next. If you don't think there's any other changes that are needed, it's done, go to the next one, okay? Does that work for you, Charles?
Yeah, that's good advice. Thanks, Anna.
Okay.
And just for clarity, Charles, do all these updates need to go through the CurricuNet process?
Yeah, everything's going to go through because we want to have a record in CurricuNet of what's been reviewed. So yeah, we want to put them through. Most of this stuff's going to go on consent, though. You're not even going to have to come to the voting meeting, right? So unless there are unit hour changes or major changes to a program, you're probably going to be okay just putting it in and be done with it. And we'll, again, if you need any help, just let me know. I'll help you get through it.